I wanted to give some background on this yew that I've been working on. It's a Japanese yew, Taxus cuspidata. It was a foundation planting at the home of Irene Bracone, who was one of our neighbors who passed away, I think about 10 years ago. Um, this tree was a foundation planting, and the homes in our neighborhood are mostly were built around the turn of the last century. So I'll say that this is a 100-year plus old tree. Um, for some additional confirmation, I took one of the branches that was cut off in the lower portion of the tree and did a growth ring count. I found 78 rings in this, which means that it's quite likely that the tree itself is over 100. For perspective, there's a Coke can here. You can see the trunk is just enormous. It was a multi-stemmed beast. You can see each one of these larger sort of indentations where I've been removing wood were actually, they appeared to be individual branches, but once I got into them, I found that they were made up of branch clusters, which is not uncommon. The branches will fuse together and grow over time. Anyway, what I've been doing so far is just rough carving. This was a huge plant growing in the ground at Irene's home, and thanks to the generosity of the next owner, Sue Lawrence, I was able to dig this up. And when I say dig, that's not really what happened. I had to acquire a commercial tow truck, the kind that pulls semis out of ditches, and we cabled the base of this thing. It took about, I'm thinking, half a day just to get it out of the ground. When it was all removed with the root ball, and there were many more branches on it. It was about 8 or 9 feet tall, and I would say that the probably weighed around 500 pounds. Having removed many of the huge older roots and removed some of that heavy soil, let's say it came down to around 250 or 300 pounds. I was able to prepare this thing by pruning it in the ground. I'd say after Sue told me I could have the plant, it was about 2 to 3 years in the ground, where what now appear to be nice branches were just sort of sprouts. From there, once we yanked it out of the ground with the tow truck, it spent another couple of years, 2 or 3 years, in the ground in my backyard. And you can see it is now in a raised bed. It's been there for about 3 years. So I have, well, from the time in the ground until now, I have probably 8 or 9 years into this thing. And I noticed this spring that it was healthy enough to actually start working on. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to post a series of videos. I don't know if I'll get the whole thing done this year. Maybe it'll take another year or two. But the rough carving is really well along. I've used a kind of a sawzall kind of a thing to remove some of the big branches. I've used a Makita angle grinder equipped with a chainsaw blade, and you can see that there are various cuts and sort of spirally looking things in the trunk. Most of that is just roughing in some of my thoughts about where and how to refine the thing. There's a nice little detail here that's going to have to be changed quite a lot, but two branches fused into each other, and I think that's going to be a nice transition into what's going to be, in effect, a second trunk. Anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with this thing. I haven't done much bonsai for quite a few years, so this is a really nice project. This will probably be the last major bonsai I ever do. With the incredible weight and mass of wood here, and the coat can, you can see for perspective, just shows you how huge this thing is. The circumference of this trunk is over 3 feet at the base. I'm going to have to do a lot of what Dan Robinson taught me was called internal taper, which means that I'll be creating hollow areas, and those hollows, although I will remove a tremendous amount of wood eventually, the hollows will actually make the tree look much more massive than it really is. It couldn't be much more massive than this as a bonsai anyway. The dead part of the trunk that rises up to sort of the right-hand side of the tree is about 6.5 feet from the base of the tree, so you can get some idea how what size this thing is. It kind of looks, some people might look at this and say, wow, it's a bonsai. I haven't trained the branches at all. All I've done is prune them sort of like a shrub, and prune them for directional growth and pinch them back to get them thicker. Anyway, you can see it's kind of a crazy project, but it's going to be a lot of fun.